Alright guys, this is my first YouTube video. Woo! To get started, I am priming my face. I've already moisturized and applied an eye cream. To prime, I'm using the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer, the original one, tried and true. It's like the #1 selling primer in the US, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm just applying this all over my face. I use a pretty generous amount. And then I'm going right into my foundation. For foundation today, I am using Pure Radiant Tinted Moisturizer from NARS. I am in the shade Finland, which is like the lightest shade, I'm pretty sure, because I'm a pale princess doing a little dance, apparently. To blend that out, I am using a Sephora Collection Pro Press Full Coverage Complexion. It's like the teardrop shaped one. I really like this brush to keep a lot of the coverage, especially when I'm using a more sheer formula, like a tinted moisturizer. It definitely helps keep some of the coverage so you aren't taking it all away like you would with like a beauty blender, especially a damp one. Just blending that all over. I do put it on my eyelids because I have a lot of veins and discoloration around my eyelids. And yeah, just blending that in. Then I'm going in with a little bit more just right on the tops of my cheeks, again, just to kind of bump up the coverage a little bit. I have some redness that I deal with, and instead of using that like buffing motion that I was using for the rest of my face, I kind of use a more stippling motion. Next, I am going in with some concealer. For my concealer, I do use the Maybelline Age Rewind. The color I have is a little bit too dark for me right now, so I did mix it in with some Laura Mercier Candle Glow foundation, which did sheer it out of it, but I didn't super mind that since this is like an everyday kind of look. I also put a little bit of my Smashbox Photo Finish Primer in it just because I find that helps with creasing. So I kind of like cocktail up my perfect concealer for right now until I can buy another one. But I'm waiting until I get my discount at work. Yeah, but I'm just patting that under the eye. I do like to use my fingers for concealer or a beauty blender. In this case, since I did sheer it out a little bit with the foundation that I mixed into it, I went ahead and used my fingers to keep some of the coverage instead of a beauty blender. I'm just applying that under the eye to help with my dark circles and then kind of in the areas that I want to semi-highlight. Like I said, this is a more natural look, so I'm not going for like a super contoured look or anything, but I do like to do a little bit of highlight. So yeah, just applying that all the places I would highlight, down the center of my nose, a little bit on my cupid's bow, chin, and I do apply it right under my cheekbones just because I hope that I notice that helps me keep my contour a little bit cleaner. Even though I'm not doing anything super dramatic today, I do kind of like the effect it gives. So yeah, I'm just blending that in with the same brush that I use for my foundation. Nothing too special here. Then I'm going in for my brows. Yeah, I'm doing my brows the way that I always do them. I like a pretty dark brow, especially for my lighter hair. So I use Brow Wiz by Anastasia in soft brown. That's what I'm using right now. Like I said, I do like to use a little bit of a darker color than most would recommend for me, but I like a really bold brow even with a more natural look. So yeah, I'm just going in, filling that in, doing some short strokes, and then kind of blending with the spoolie, laying the hairs right in place. I didn't put in a clip of me setting my brows, but I definitely do that. I use the Anastasia brow gel, the clear one. I've actually been forgetting to do that recently, which is probably why I didn't have a clip of it, but I do set my brows because I like a really feathered look, and I find that helps them kind of stay in place, especially when I'm going to class or going to be in work or something. But yeah, just filling in both brows. I do like to step back and kind of take a look, make sure everything's even from far away, kind of change the angle up. And then I'm going in with like a flat brush that I really love for sharpening and defining my brow with a little bit more of that concealer concoction. I have no idea where these purple brushes are from. I'm pretty sure they're just from like Walmart or something. Super cheap, but pretty effective for what I'm going for. and I really, really like this little square-ended brush for defining my brows. Yeah, so I'm just going underneath and then kind of pulling some of that right through the front. I find that helps my brow look a little bit more natural if it's a little bit more faded. I'm not a huge fan of like an Instagram brow, if you guys know what I mean, so I don't do it too harsh. I like to make sure it's a really like soft, subtle gradient, and I don't fill in the top of the front of my brow really at all. I leave it pretty much the way that it is. And then I find that putting a brow gel over top of that really helps define those hairs even more and makes them look even more natural in my brow, even though I do prefer the arch in the tail to be a little bit more defined. Yeah, but I'm just working that concealer right under my brow on both sides through the front, and then in a second you'll see that I kind of take my finger and blend it in. I feel like that really helps create a really smooth transition so there's not any harsh lines, it doesn't look splotchy or anything, especially right under my brow. Now I'm just going in with a Sephora Collection beauty sponge. I don't know the exact name of the sponge, but I can look it up and find it. I do know that you're not supposed to use it damp though, so my sponge is dry and I'm just using that to blend my concealer a little bit, make sure there's no creasing because I'm about to go in and set. I'm using Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder on an Eco Tools brush. This one I think is supposed to be like a blending brush for the eye, but I find that it does a really good job of setting my under eye because I'm not a huge proponent of baking. It kind of irritates my under eye. I have super dry skin, so not my thing. But I do really like a smaller brush like this. You could even use like a blending brush or a smaller powder face brush, a blush brush, whatever you have on hand. And then I do go in with just a tiny bit of that powder, like literally the tiniest amount, to set the rest of my face. I do prefer a little bit more of a luminous finish, but this is my favorite powder, so I just use it sparingly to kind of keep some of the glow. Then I'm fixing my hair, apparently. Now I'm going in with a little bit of an Ulta brand matte bronzer in the shade Cool. And then just one of those like purple brushes again that, like I said, I'm pretty sure is from a drugstore or Walmart. This one's a little bit angled and a little bit smaller than my all over face powder brush. And I like it to kind of carve out my cheekbones. I don't do a whole lot of contouring. I'm more into like bronzing in general, so I do kind of a blown out bronze contour kind of thing here. And I also prefer to use as least products as I can, as few products as I can, just because I'm lazy, quite honestly. I have a whole collection of makeup I could be using, and I use the same every single day. Yeah, but I'm just blending that, working it into the hollows of my cheekbones, a little bit around my foreheads and temples. I don't like to contour too much around my forehead, but I do find that it kind of helps balance the face to have a little bit of color up there. And then I do go in just slightly right under the jawline. And yeah, I think that's everything. This is kind of how I do my everyday face, just kind of a basic way to get started. You know, if I'm gonna do any other look, this is kind of my go-to. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy.